and welcome back to the Movies Made Us Do It. Matt, how are you doing?
I am pretty good, so how are you?
I am very, very well. It's been a busy old week, but I'm excited to talk about this movie.
Yeah.
Smokey and the Bandit. When did you first see Smokey and the Bandit?
I think a TV job when I was a kid.
Yeah, I'm going to say the same. Obviously came out in 1977.
Yep.
I was not even born, but it did used to get a lot of repetition on the TV.
Yeah, it really did.
Which is how I certainly remember it.
Yeah, I was only like 2 or 3, so I would not have gone to see this.
No, exactly. But it is one of those films. It was repeated on TV an awful lot when I was a kid. I'm assuming it was the same when you were a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And
I think there was a sort of period where kind of all of his stuff, Cannonball Run and Hooper and all those ones that were his prime period. I think Burt Reynolds' prime period. I think they were all shown quite a lot. You could guarantee at least once a year.
Yeah. He was yes, at least once a year. There was that rotation of Smokey and the Bandit and certain Star Trek episodes and movie episodes. I mean, sorry.
Well, was it? I think from about 75 to about 80, mid 80s. I think he was basically the sort of biggest star at that point.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say.
He was absolutely huge at that point, and then I think I can't remember which one he says was where he lost it. It's not Hooper. It was one of the last car ones he did that basically said he lost the audience after that because that one tanked.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and that brief period of movies, they're all fucking great.
They are so entertaining.
I've got a real soft spot for Hooper.
It's hard to. It's really hard to think of a leading man more charismatic. Like Bo Darville is a bit of an asshole in this movie, to be honest. But he's so arrogant and cocky the whole time. But that charm is just like he can just get away with it because he's so charming.
And I think that's kind of just Burt Reynolds, isn't it?
It is absolutely.
I think he seems to have a cockiness and a handsomeness that sort of normally you would just want to punch him.
Yep.
But because he's so charming and funny,
you just want to be him. You're like, God, I wish I could be that.
And sometimes he is very self-deprecating. So I think he's just got enough of that to make you go, oh God, but it's Burt Reynolds. Yeah. it's just literally that. It's like, yeah, but it's Burt Reynolds.
Yeah, absolutely. So, should we get into it? We're going to try our best to remember what happens in what order. There is an awful lot of chase in this movie. Yeah. So, the order may get a little mixed, but we'll try our best. So, we open on the title crawl with the or the title scene with the truck on the red background.
Really nice.
It's well shot, isn't it?
The exhaust on the truck.
It's a lovely shot. Yeah,
it's a really nice shot. I like that, and I'm sure I've seen that as a poster somewhere.
Maybe it does feel familiar, but again, I did watch this a lot as a kid, so it may just be that. And we come across a truck driver who's just been pulled by the police for smuggling some cores.
Yeah.
And of course he's reminded that it's illegal to ship cores east of Texas.
Yeah.
And then we cut to.
Apparently, it wasn't strictly speaking illegal. It wasn't bootlegging to take cores across the states. So the reason apparently it was because it wasn't pasteurized.
Oh, okay. So
apparently at that time they couldn't refrigerate it while traveling.
Right.
So that was why it was actually banned from the other states, because they couldn't.
That might actually explain the bet in terms of the time frame as well, actually, which I hadn't considered.
Yeah, but, apparently, I think it was the director was somewhere and he got a case of cores. And apparently his cleaning lady kept stealing them.
Right.
And he was intrigued to know why they kept getting stolen. So he went and asked about why, and then they said, "Oh, because they don't get them this far down from
wherever
it was."
Okay.
He's like, actually, that would make a really good plot for a movie.
That's a fun plot for a
And
movie, yeah.
you sort of think, yeah, fucking basic, and you think, how's that going to work? But it fucking does.
Again, though, we so often come back to the basic plot,
Yeah.
told well. You know, it always works, and it certainly works here. So we cut to this truck rodeo event that's going on, and we see this kind of real shady father and son.
They are so fucking dodgy,
tycoon. Right? I love the son. He just fucking hates Bandit so much.
Yeah,
I love it.
He's a real little shit as well.
He's awful. Yeah.
I think. Do you know? I think there was like 10-year difference between those two.
There probably was. Yeah. But they approach the Bandit's manager. They're walking past. They approach the Bandit's manager, and they're like, we need to see the Bandit. And he's like, well, is like £20 an autograph or something like that, isn't it? $20 an autograph. And of course he gets his son to count the money out, and he's like, right, I'm buying your attraction for 30 minutes.
Bunch of cash he keeps whipping out.
Yeah. And then they
I love it when they pass the truck.
I know, I was just going to say that. Yeah.
Painting on the what he says to him was it's something along the lines of a guy who paints his truck like that is a guy who would go to a preacher's funeral wearing feathers.
Yeah. So they approach the Bandit, who is asleep in a like a hammock, presumably. He's surrounded by signs that sort of say, autograph and whatever.
Yeah,
$5 or whatever it is. And they approach, and as they approach, he even makes snide remarks about him being out of work and and just kind of a loser.
Yeah.
And he's basically, so the Bandit is a semi-retired truck legend. Basically, he's like a trucker legend, which is how he's afforded this sort of guest appearance at this rodeo. So this father and son tycoon, team, I guess, they are planning a big party. I think it's meant to be isn't it?
Party?
Sorry?
Is it a 4th of July party?
I think I wasn't sure if it was a 4th of July party or whether it was related to like a political rally on the 4th of July, but it's something around basically they say, hey, we're having this big party and we want to have a load of cores delivered for me and my friends. And of course the Bandit's like, how many friends? And he's like, well, 400 cases. It's like, oh, okay, more than a few friends. And the Bandit is very quick to point out, he's like, well, if you're going east of Texas, now he says that it's bootlegging, as you've pointed out, not necessarily the case, but he says, well, if you're going east of Texas, you're bootlegging. But they're Burdettes, that's their name, the Burdettes. They say that, well, they want some for their Atlanta, Georgia shindig, so they need 400 cases, and they offer the Bandit $80,000 to go up, pick them up from Texas and bring them to Atlanta, but he has to do it in 28 hours.
Yep.
And the Bandit is at first reluctant until he hears the price, and then he's like, $80,000. Okay. And he's like, well, I'm going to need money for the beer.
Yeah, I love the way he does that.
It's so good.
Funny.
He's like, well, I need money for the beer. And of course, he's, Big Bernadette says to little Burdette, he's like, I'll get some cash. But of course, the Bandit immediately sees how much money this guy's got. And he's like, oh, and I'll need a car. Yeah. And he starts counting the money out, and he's like, a fast car.
Faster than that.
Yeah, I know. And then he counts out like loads more, and then he's like, faster than that. So good. So the deal is made, and then of course the Bandit heads off to go and meet his friend Cletus Snow, known as the Snowman, and as soon as he arrives, Cletus's kids are so happy to see him.
Like 20 kids running around the yard.
Yeah.
What is it he says to his wife? you planning on starting another human race or something like that?
Yeah. And of course, his wife is not so happy to see him, as we learn that the last time the Bandit and Snowman went on a drive, on a mission, it ended with Snowman getting caught, basically.
Yeah.
And he's only just, I assume he's only just got out of jail or just got, clear of the law. But the Bandit's having none of it, basically just ignores her effectively and walks straight into him anyway. Snowman's asleep, and he wakes him up, and immediately, as soon as Snowman is wakes up and hears his voice, he's like, no. No, I'm not doing it. But of course the Bandit then tells him, hey, it's 80 grand.
Yeah.
And then he's like, 80 grand? Okay, I'm in.
Yeah.
And one of the most iconic scenes when they leave the house and they're talking about, how they're going to do this and the truck and stuff. And then he's like, so you going to be in the truck with me? And he's like, no, I'm going to be running block. He's going to be a blocker.
Yeah.
And of course he brings out the Pontiac.
Yeah.
Pontiac Trans Am with the gold eagle on the front.
Yeah. So Screaming Chicken, as they call it.
Yeah, one of the most iconic movie cars of all time.
It's such a fucking beautiful car.
It is, and it sounds beautiful too.
I don't think it was the greatest car.
It certainly wasn't handling-wise. I think they were awful. But
apparently it's comfortable, and it's quite a nice car to drive, apparently. But it's really thirsty.
Yeah.
And it just wasn't actually that powerful, unless you got a specific sort of model engine. But God, does it fucking look cool.
And sounds amazing.
Yeah, it's such a fucking cool car.
It's absolutely beautiful.
And I love that there's a bit where they're talking about how, no one's ever done that. We're going to do this. We could do that. And he says to him, we ain't never not done it.
Yeah.
I love the sort of I guess it's the southern sort of way they have to putting things. Just really funny. And that fucking car is just so awesome.
Oh, it's so gorgeous. It's such a gorgeous car. And of course, immediately Snowman's like, whoa, where did you get that? And so they make the plan. So,
but of course, don't forget he brings his dog Fred.
Oh yeah, he says I got to bring Fred with me.
What I like about Fred is apparently they specifically chose that dog because he was the only dog that they had that wouldn't do as he was told.
Brilliant.
Yeah, they specifically picked him because he was useless.
Weirdly, he seems really just docile and chill the whole movie. Like nothing bothers him at all. But yeah, so they head off to collect the cores from Texas.
Yeah.
And
which is fucking dodgy in itself. I mean, when they get there, and they go to they're an hour early, aren't they? Apparently.
Yeah. So they decide to unload it themselves or load it themselves.
Well, I forgot we missed a chase with Bandit before that.
I was trying to think whether that happens before. So the Bandit just basically gets in a car chase for no real reason.
Yeah.
Just for a laugh, I think.
I think he's just
testing.
He's speeding. I think that's the idea, is that he's
testing the car's capabilities, maybe.
Yeah.
So he gets in a car chase on the way there. I was thinking that. I was like, does he get in a car chase on the way there? So and he manages to kind of
pulls in behind the little
doesn't he? Yeah.
Building, and the copper goes by him, and that's the moment where he looks at us.
Yeah, breaking the fourth wall.
That bit where he breaks the fourth wall and smiles at us and then drives off. And then,
a weird choice, but somehow it just works.
It works. I think, again, it's fucking Burt Reynolds.
Yeah.
So you just go with it. It's
if it was anyone else.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, totally.
I think the only other person that could pull that off in a movie these days would be Keanu Reeves.
Yeah, probably.
If during John Wick he looked at us, we'd just go, yeah, okay.
Yeah, fair.
That's fine.
Yeah.
When they get to the thing, they get there, they're an hour early. There's no one around. It's all locked up. So they break into the place.
Yep.
Yeah, and he tells him to leave a note, and it's like, leave a note, and he doesn't even leave a note in the end.
No, because he's like, I gotta get going. He just doesn't bother finishing though. But also, fucking Bandit. He's like, can you drive that that, can you even drive a forklift, Bandit? And he's like, I could drive anything. And then, I mean, he could have like seriously injured Snowman here.
Snowman over.
He just plows him into the beer.
So you can guarantee at least what 10, 20 of those cases are now broken.
Oh, for sure, like pissing all over the floor. But poor bloody Snowman is sent hurling into these things. I'm like, you're lucky you didn't kill him. Like, and then he's like, oh, very funny, and the Bandit's like, well, I found it funny.
Yeah,
it's like, you did.
Again, proving what a dick Bandit
is. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, so of course now so the Bandit speeds off and he leaves Snowman to write this note, and then even Snowman's like, I haven't got time for this, I gotta get going, and they head off. They make off. They head off for Atlanta. Sorry, I was just trying to remember where I was. Yeah, so they're heading off when the Bandit comes across a woman escaping a wedding.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where all of this kicks off. Because the weird thing is, you see the trailer and you're like, oh, this deputy obviously really hates the Bandit and is chasing the Bandit because he knows who the Bandit is, and there's this big history of him versus the Bandit.
Yeah.
The reality is not that.
No.
So the Bandit's driving along pretty fast, minding his own business, and he finds a woman trying to flag him down in a wedding dress, and he almost runs her over. Like, it's so close to flattening her, but he skids up right next to her. And the first thing he says is like, I'm sorry, I don't have time for it. I don't want to get married.
Yeah.
And she's like, that makes two of us. And then she immediately jumps in the car and she's like, can this thing go? And he's like, oh yeah. Just speed off. And then we get these poor guys in a van. They're coming around the corner as he speeds off.
Yeah.
And they pull up to investigate this car with like,
they're
just
poor guys. They're gonna basically.
Well, they're gonna rob the car. Yeah. They're gonna rob the car. I say poor for what happens after this.
Yeah.
So they see the opportunity. They pull up. But as they are about to break into the car,
they're dismantling. They're like taking the wheels and they all look like they've all got their job. So one's doing the wheels, like one's under the hood, is he? I think. I can't remember what one's doing.
But then, Deputy Buford T. Justice.
Is he deputy?
Oh, sorry. No, sorry. Deputy is his son. So the deputy is his son, isn't it? And then he is Buford T. Justice.
Yeah.
So they pull up in their car, and it's Texas Mounted Police. No, it's not Mountie.
That's
Texas.
That's what they. That's like a hand.
Yes.
Like a for fuck's sake, and like a nickname they give them because of the hats.
Yeah. So he pulls up and he's like, did you just see a woman in a wedding dress leave here? And he's immediate. By the way, the guy, who do they get to play him? I'm just trying to get his name, the actor's name.
Oh, Buford.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
I forget his name.
Oh, for fuck's sake, my brain is just completely gone. It's the guy from The Honeymooners. It's Jackie Gleason. Jackie Gleason.
He is the biggest piece of shit.
Oh, I mean, Gleason was so good at playing.
He is sexist, racist.
Yeah.
Just disgusting. He's just the worst. He's so good at being so horrible. Thoroughly horrible.
There's a line later on when he meets one of the other
sheriffs. Yes.
And you just think, wow, there's no way you get away with that these days. Jesus Christ.
No, but obviously you're not supposed to bloody sympathise with him. He is the villain. He's absolutely awful.
Complete asshole.
Irredeemably awful.
Did you watch that Honeymooners, by the way?
Yeah.
It was one of those things I watched when I was a kid. They used to show occasionally.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that whole thing is like the basis for the Flintstones. So, it's Jackie Gleason was a really, really great actor.
Yeah.
And almost all of his lines in this are completely improvised.
Mm.
And I think most of the lines from everybody is improvised, because I know Sally Fields, so she was asked to do this movie, I think Reynolds wanted her specifically because he always had a little thing for her.
Yeah.
And they ended up dating after this for years, which is why I think they were in like 4 or 5 movies together. I think
that makes sense.
But she was told that after her last movie, I think, which was not, I wouldn't say an art movie or anything, but it was not like a big mainstream movie.
Yeah.
She was told that she needed to get like a big movie on her CV, and she was like, I'm not really sure I want to do this, but she got kind of talked into it, and I think she ended up really enjoying it. She said, but it was so different to what she was used to, because literally it was like there was no real script for them. They, everything was improvised, and so they had to just sort of get on with it. And she said she just wasn't used to that.
Yeah.
So she said it was, and the other thing that was, which I thought was funny as hell, is, I guess, it's all down to taste, I guess. But the studio said, oh no, we don't want her. She's too ugly.
Jesus.
Like, seriously?
She's gorgeous.
She was hell. How the hell did they not want her? But yeah, apparently they said she was too ugly. So
wow,
they didn't want her, and they had to be persuaded again to take her on.
Yeah. But so Sheriff Buford T. Justice,
which apparently is the name of a real cop.
That's such a good name. Like, that cannot, you kind of think that cannot be a real name, but wow.
Reynolds' dad was a cop, and apparently he knew this dude with that name.
Buford T. Justice.
Yeah.
So he is immediately. I mean, he obviously knows these kids were. He knows what these kids were doing.
Yeah, of course he was. Right. Yeah.
But he is an absolute dick to them, and he basically says, "Which direction did they go? What were they? What car was she in? What were they driving?" And they explain it was the Trans Am, black Trans Am. And he basically bullies these kids into just staying there. He's like, "You stay here."
Punches another, I think.
Yeah, he kicks him in the balls straight away, doesn't he? He just walks up, kicks him in the balls. He's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, son," and then punches another one, and basically says, "Now you will wait here until I come back.
Don't go anywhere. Don't go for something to eat, or don't get,
Yeah.
And one of them, when they're gone, one of them goes, "Come on, we got to get out." Because I don't know about you, but I'm fucking staying
right here. Yeah. I can't say I would. I would have been gone immediately.
Oh, Christ, no. There was no way that he's staying around.
But so the chase is now on, and we learn that of course the sheriff, unbeknownst to the bandit, the sheriff is chasing after not the bandit to begin with, but the bride, because
Kerry was
supposed to be Mrs. Kerry Justice.
Yeah.
Because she was going to marry the deputy.
How the hell did that happen?
Well, I'm assuming money and power.
I mean, yeah, but how? Junior's an idiot with no power.
Yeah, well, perceived power, I guess. He thinks he's got power, and certainly you get the impression that the sheriff probably runs the little town he's in. Like, he is like, the kind of the boss of the town, I guess. Old school Wild West rules. Sheriff's basically ruling the town. And
quite hilarious as well as Junior's played by Mike Henry.
Yeah.
Who on a number of occasions played Tarzan.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, and pretty good as well. You wouldn't have thought it if you ever watched this. And
no.
And then somebody said, "Oh, he was Tarzan." You go, "Really?"
He's really funny in this, actually.
Yeah,
I think they make a really good double team.
They're really again, that was a Jackie Gleason thing. Apparently, originally Gleason was supposed to be on his own, and he said, "I need someone to work off. I can't just do it on my own." So they brought in Junior so that he could have someone to riff on.
Well, I also really just like the dynamic of him being in the car and Kerry being the real reason that, because of course the bandit is like, I mean, as we go through this film, the bandit and Snowman are really confused as to why this Texas sheriff is chasing them outside of their jurisdiction, and of course the whole time she's just like, I don't know.
No,
well, who knows?
Yeah. I mean, if they had any sense, you probably would have worked out. I mean, she seemed to be on the run from,
yeah. It is immediately suspicious. So anyway, we learn that they got to the wedding. It was the point of the wedding, and apparently she she got to the altar, changed her mind, and then, according to the sheriff, danced back up the aisle.
Yeah.
And apologized to Junior on the way out.
Yeah.
And apparently just flagged down the first car.
He didn't say something along the lines of she's got a nice ass or something.
Yeah, he's really, really gross about her, actually. Yeah. And it's like, that's meant to be your daughter-in-law.
Yep.
You fucking weirdo. He's so strange, though, this guy. He's so strange. So yeah, of course. So she's obviously gone off with the bandit. And they head off with the sheriff in hot pursuit. And as I said, they're confused. They're like, why is this sheriff's like out of his jurisdiction? What's going on? And she's just denying it the whole time. She's like, I don't know. Who knows? So they do that bit where the sheriff's coming up behind them, and they need to get in front of the truck, don't they? The bandit. So he ends up pulling off the side and going around and up round the front. And she's kind of the whole time she's moving around constantly in the seat and going into the back and, like, you know, constantly moving around. So she gets the nickname Frog.
Yeah, he says about his CB handle, isn't it? He's Bandit and he's Snowman.
Yeah, because she's like, I'm going to die and I don't even have a handle. And he's like, oh, I've got some ideas about that.
Yeah, because he calls her Frog because she jumps around, she's cute, and he wants a jumper.
Yeah. There's a really funny scene here as well where she's getting out of the wedding dress, and and we get Snowman, and he's like, is she wearing a wedding dress? Oh no! At first he's like, where did you get that seat cover?
Yeah.
And he's like, it's not a seat cover, and he just puts the CB next to her, and she's just yapping on about everything.
She's got it over her head, hasn't she? Yeah. He's just holding it.
And then he's like, is she wearing a wedding dress? And then she just throws the wedding dress out of the car, and he's like, she was. And he's like, what's she wearing now?
Yeah.
And there's this really awkward shot where it's funny, but it's awkward, where she's trying to get dressed, and then she's like, she looks at the speedometer, she's like, are we going 110 miles an hour? And he's just like, yeah. But the car is clearly not. I mean, the stock footage they're using is clearly not 110 miles an hour.
But the thing is that it's not 110 miles an hour. It's that's kilometers.
Oh, kilometers. Yeah.
So they say it's miles, but it's not. It's kilometers, and so I think they're doing 60.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she gets out of the wedding dress, and then they continue on. So
there's a lot of things. I like. There's a lot of little dialogue bit pieces, but when between them when they're talking, and she says something about that she was a dancer and stuff, and she was on, was it Broadway for all of 12 minutes once.
Yes. Yeah.
He's just completely fascinated by her. She just keeps talking, and he just keeps looking at her.
Yeah. So as they're driving, you get the impression, or we already know from earlier in the movie that the bandit is a legend amongst the trucker community. So he's quite well known already. But as this pursuit continues, people are obviously hearing over the radio. They're hearing the reports as they're going through. And he becomes more and more kind of famous, and more truckers as they go are kind of coming on site. But one of the first ones they come across, or the first ones that contacts them, has the handle Silver Tongue Devil.
Yeah.
And he's got some advice for the bandit. He says, hey, you know, you want to know if you're coming up this way, they're coming out for you. You don't want to come up here. And the bandit's like, oh, that was really nice of him. But then, of course, as it pans back, we see that he's actually got the police right there. He's been pulled over. And so there's actually a roadblock. And just as they're sort of thanking the Silver Tongue Devil, they come across this roadblock, which is by the department who are in their jurisdiction. So you know, as they're going through, they come across various jurisdictions who all tried to stop them as they're speeding through. And of course, this leads to a car chase. Our first kind of big car chase, really, which is a really fun chase, as he kind of goes off-road down through this forest path. And they realize, well, actually, we get this great scene with you've got the sheriff of this town.
Yeah,
and his I guess is his deputy is like really over kind of zealous deputy. He's like, come on, we gotta catch him. And he's like, hey, if you break this car, you're paying
for it. Yeah.
And he's like, but they're gonna get away. And the sheriff's like, he's not going anywhere. The bridge has been like down for like busted, a year or something. You know, he's not going anywhere. And of course, sure enough, the bandit approaches and sees the bridge is out, and he turns around and he's like, that's bad. Or he's like, does he say that's bad? Speeds back, and then he sees the police coming. He's like, that's worse.
That's worse. Yeah.
Turns around again.
Back around
and
again.
just guns it. Just goes for it.
And it's a great stunt. They jump the bridge. It's a great stunt, but you also like look at it and you go, yeah, there's no way at that speed and at that angle he actually made that.
No,
jump.
They all died. And of course, the deputy, super proud of himself, because he's chasing after him, and the bandit makes the jump. He realizes he's not going to make the jump, but he stops in time.
Yeah,
stops in time. But then, of course, Deputy Buford T. Justice comes up behind him and hits him straight into the or not into it, but kind of down into the lake. And of course, this sheriff comes out, gets out of his car, and Buford's like, you know, is the sheriff? Where's the sheriff? And he speaks to the sheriff, and of course he's like, I'm the sheriff. And of course, this is where we I'm pretty sure, pretty strongly hinted that Mr. Buford T. Justice is a racist piece of shit. As the sheriff's black, and he's like, doesn't he say something to his son? He's like, doesn't he like takes all sorts or something like that?
He says, you sounded taller on the radio.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And then when he gets to his son, he says, "What's the world coming to?"
Yeah, and you know the funny thing is, he says, "I thought you sounded taller," which is obviously, you know, code for what he really meant. Yeah, but the guy's fucking tall.
Yeah,
like he's a tall guy.
I think that dude. There's a couple of the guys, and I think him is what I think they were actually real cops.
Right.
And that dude was one of the real cops.
Oh wow. He's not a bad actor, actually. He does. I mean, I guess, you know, you're kind of playing yourself effectively, but he does a good job. But yeah, so this is kind of where I'm pretty sure this is where we begin with the degeneration, destruction of the sheriff's car, right? Yeah. So he's just back-ended this car, started causing the damage, and the damage will continue as we go through. Kind of one of my favorite running gags of this film is just the car, which the sheriff deems to be evidence. Yep. He's like, this is evidence. Even though half the time he's the one that wrecked it. It's like, no, this is evidence.
Yeah, near the end when he gets pulled over by a different sheriff.
He loses the door, doesn't he? Yeah. So they take off again. Now I think after this, and again I'm really struggling with what happens where, but I think after this, the whole time obviously Snowman's like, where are you? And of course the bandit's like, well, I'm trying to lose the cops. I'm keeping them off of you. And they keep in touch, and he's like, hey, I will be there soon. I just need to get some gas, and then I'll be there.
And I think this is where she comes clean about why they're chasing him, isn't it? Always that. Oh no, it doesn't that until they get to the lakeside, don't they, or wherever it is. They kind of come up somewhere for a little while. Is it the puke and choke that they go to? That
I think it's after the. I want to say this is where they pull in for gas.
Yeah.
At this point, they pull in for gas, and of course the sheriff's pulled in next to him, or kind of not far away from him to get work done to his car, and it's kind of jacked up, isn't it? It's like jacked up while he's there.
No, that's a bit later because
is that later?
Yeah, because the roof's at this point. The roof's he's still got the roof.
Oh, he has still got the roof. You're absolutely right.
I think it's so they go I think this is the bit where he
Is
goes
this the diner.
Joke. Yeah, the diner to get cheeseburgers and stuff for a snowman.
Yeah, because Snowman says that it's the dog
Him and
that
Fred's
needs it.
hungry. Yeah.
Yeah, it's Fred. Fred needs his burgers. So he goes in, and of course, while he's in there, he like buys the burgers. He's waiting for them to be cooked, and then of course he immediately hears the voice because the sheriff's been on the radio to them the whole time. He's been on the CB as well. He's like talking to them. So of course he recognizes the voice, and he's coming in, you know, is pissing and swearing.
He wants to go to the toilet, and he orders a Diablo sandwich.
Yeah, and he's like, you know, he's rude to the staff immediately. He's like, I need it immediately.
He's
actually
quite nice to the woman because he calls her a nice lady and everything. He's just brash. I think
brash, I suppose, is probably fair.
Yeah. And I love that he orders 2 cheeseburgers and it's $1.50.
I know.
$1.50, 2 cheeseburgers. That's awesome.
Yeah. But then of course, you know, the bandit just starts talking to him, and he's like, "Hey, you know, you must be because I think he make the observation that he's not in his jurisdiction, and he's like, "Hey, you must be in in a real pursuit. You know, you must be in a real.
Your must be a real son of a bitch, I think, isn't it?"
Yeah. And he kind of he's talking to him, and of course he's like blowing smoke up the sheriff's ass, and the sheriff's loving it. He's like, yeah, you know, take this guy down. And then of course the bandit pays for his lunch and everything. He's like, no, you're an officer of the law. I'll pay. And he's like, you go to the toilet, I'll pay. And as soon as the sheriff heads to the toilet, he just grabs his hat and legs it. Jumps into the Trans Am, and they.
Yeah, well, she's driving, isn't it?
She pulls up. Yeah.
And she says, it's him. And he's like, yeah, I know him. And he says, what are you doing? He's going, he's just driving a car. She's going, you're going the wrong way. So she goes, oh, when she turns around.
And of course they speed off. And then the sheriff comes out with toilet paper. Stuck on it? Isn't it stuck on his hat or something?
No, it's stuck on his sunglasses.
Stuck on his sunglasses. That's right. It's like tied around his sunglasses. And the waitress or the owner comes out and actually points it out to him. She's like,
she gives him a sandwich, I think.
And he just kind of smiles. He's like, okay.
Thank you, that's Lenny.
Yeah.
And I love the way he says "son of a bitch."
Yeah.
Son of a bitch. Mm-hmm. And apparently that's the way Burt Reynolds' dad used to say it.
Oh, okay.
I think some of the mannerisms of Gleason's character were based on his dad, Reynolds' dad, apparently, which makes you think, well, Reynolds' dad must have been a hard ass.
Yeah. But yeah, so while all of this is happening, Cletus is actually making pretty good time in the beer truck.
Yeah, he's doing really well.
He's doing all right. There are a couple
of no one's paying attention to the truck, are they? So.
No, because between Kerry and the bandit, they're making so much noise that all of the police from every state they're going in is just gunning for them, which is kind of the point of the bandit anyway. So he's doing his job, but he's almost doing it too well to where he's getting a lot of heat. Like there's a lot of heat.
I don't think he's supposed to be making that much noise.
No. But now, of course, we've got the added complexity of, you know, we've got Buford chasing them, we've got the local police after them, but now Kerry's also driving instead of the bandit.
Yeah.
And we get some kind of comedy moments where they're trying to swap seats and they keep giving up. And I think, if anything, it probably goes on a little too long, this bit.
Yeah, it does, a little.
Where it's kind of like, there are a few moments where it's like, you could just pull over and swap now. Like, you don't need to keep doing this. But yeah, of course, they're getting chased. And is this the point where they lose the roof? I feel like it's around
I think
here.
This is where they lose the roof,
because I think isn't it one of the truckers just basically like
he pulls out, doesn't he? I think.
Yeah.
I think it's not even on purpose or anything. It's just there's a truck that pulls out and they Bandit avoids it. Well,
or Carrie. I think it's Carrie.
She avoids it and they go straight underneath it. And it takes the roof off.
It takes the whole roof off the car, and of course they continue. They'll continue with this car no matter what.
What I love about from now on is he's driving along and Junior is holding his dad's hat on the whole time.
Yep.
While they're driving along.
There are some really like funny continuity errors from this point on as well, where you can see they filmed those scenes where he's holding the hat while there was glass in front of the window.
Yeah.
And then when it cuts back, there's obviously no glass because the whole top of the car is missing. But you can see the reflection of the glass and stuff is kind of awkward.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the chase continues. And I'm trying to think what part happens next.
Is this where Snowman's got to pull in for
is this where
fuel? Or... I think that they stop at one. Oh, I think.
Well, there's the swim. There's the swim, isn't there?
He gives him the burgers.
Oh, that's right. They catch up, and he gives. You're right. They catch up, and he gives him the burgers, and that's when Fred decides to go for a swim.
Yeah.
So of course the bandit pulls off, but Fred's going to go for a swim, which holds up Cletus. So he's kind of stuck there trying to catch Fred and stop him swimming.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, obviously, we're starting to get some chemistry between the bandit and Frog.
Yeah.
They pull in because they need to wait for Cletus to kind of catch up with them now. They're ahead, so they've got a bit of time. They may as well wait. Yeah. And this is where we start to get some chemistry between the two. The bandit tells her that he never takes his hat off, or only for one thing.
One thing.
He only takes his hat off for one thing.
Yeah.
She comes clean about what's going on.
Yeah.
And explains the situation. And then, of course, she tells him to take his hat off.
Yeah.
Which he does. So, of course, now they're kind of together-ish.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so...
and I think this is where a snowman gets pulled over? By the...
Yes, it is, yeah.
Or is that a bit later, when he gets pulled over by the bike cop?
No, it may be here. I really, to be honest,
like
I said, half of this film is just car chase, so I forget which bits happen where, to be honest.
Yeah.
With you.
I can't remember whether he goes to the bar first. I think
maybe
does he go to the bar first and then he gets beaten up, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. He gets beaten up by the bikers. Well, we can cover that bit anyway. So so Cletus decides to basically go to a truck stop.
He needs to get fuel, and I think he wants to talk to his wife, doesn't he?
That's right. Yeah, so he goes to make a call and get some fuel. While in there, he comes across some bikers who are absolute assholes for the sake of being assholes. I don't know whether they know him or whether...
No, they don't. I think they're just being dicks.
They just hate truckers.
One of them says Fred bit him.
Yeah. And of course, Snowman's like, Fred doesn't bite people. Like, you're talking shit. And then I think it's actually Snowman who throws the first punch. But quickly gets overwhelmed by these bikers.
There's no way he was gonna.
No way. There's like 4 or 5 of them.
There was another trucker there, and he makes a swift exit. He gets his food, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm going now. Bye."
Yeah. And then of course, this fight ensues. Snowman gets beaten up and thrown out. And I love the shot of Snowman getting thrown out the door and Fred just following behind him. He just wanders out behind him. And the owner, who was like, a big kind of, you get the impression he's a big fan of Snowman and the Bandit.
Yeah.
He comes out and he's like, I'm really sorry, He's like, don't worry about it. It's all good. He gives him his food. He gives him some food and stuff, and he gets back in his truck. But then, of course, you see that smile on his face as he starts to pull out, and he runs over the bikers' bikes.
Completely canes
flattens them all. Yeah. Which I always thought, like, they're going to find some way of the bikers now chasing them in a car or something. Yeah, but that never happens.
The thing is it kind of reminds me of Any Which Way But Loose sort of thing.
Yeah.
And you do sort of expect them to turn up again at some point. In trucks or something, chasing them down, but they don't, which I think is a slight missed opportunity. But
yeah. But yeah, so
and I think he says that he just got jumped by a load of bikers, and Bandit says, "Oh, did that turn out the way it always does?" Is yep.
So you get the impression this happens every time he goes goes anywhere.
Yeah.
Snowman gets pulled over, or at least he's getting pulled over, and he just puts on the CBs, like the sound of the siren behind him. And of course the bandit's like, yep, help's on the way, you know, like isn't he like cavalry's on the way or something like that?
Here comes the cavalry,
and he speeds up, and I love this shot where the bandit just pulls up and Carrie just goes, hey, just swears at the police officer, and they speed off again.
It's in the finger, doesn't she?
And then, of course, you know, another chase ensues. This time, I think this one is broken up because the bandit knows a bunch of... does he know, like, the owner of a diner or something?
Yeah.
Further down the road.
One of them, he calls it, again, choke and puke.
Yeah. And she basically agrees to help him, effectively.
Yeah, she's got a load of friends there that are all... They're all like surfers and things, I think.
Yeah. They're like a bunch of kids, aren't they? Because one of them's like, you know, he's barely old enough to drive.
Yeah,
with his girlfriend. And yeah, so they all agree to basically help, because the bandit's like, well, I'm going to be coming past in like a few seconds, and I got a lot of police behind me. So you know, if you want to do me a favor. So of course the bandit pulls off on this side road, and immediately after he goes past the diner, all of these cars come out onto the road, and manages to stop all of them. I'm trying to remember if they managed to stop Justice or not, because we also get the bit with the funeral procession.
That's after.
That's after this, isn't it?
I think that's a little after.
Yeah. So they managed to basically hold up the police as the bandit continues on.
Yeah.
And then, sometime after that, we get Buford still in pursuit when they.
I think this is the bit where I think they've gone to get fuel again or something.
Yeah.
And Buford's on the jack.
Yeah. They pull in for fuel, and this is one of a couple of scenes where the bandit's on the CB to him, and he's really close to him.
Yeah, he's literally just like 20 feet away, basically.
20 feet away. I think in this scene, though, neither of them realise it first, do they?
No, they
neither
don't.
Of them know. So, of course, they're talking on the CB, and the sheriff's, you know, got his car jacked up, and he's talking about, you know, he's going to catch him and whatever. And then, of course, the bandit speeds off, and just as Buford sees him. And rather than waiting for any, you know, for them to, you know, for the mechanics to let the car down.
That's the thing, is you don't see that.
No, this shot is framed, isn't it? So you don't actually see it.
And he basically starts the car, pulls off, and that's when the camera pans back and you see him. The front of the car is jacked up, and he just plows the car into another car.
Yeah. But yes, and then shortly after this, Buford is you know, in pursuit, and we get this great scene where the bandit speeds past, and he's like, "Hey, I know who that is," and he gets on the CB and he's like, "Is this the bandit?" And what do they call himself? Does he call himself Gravedigger or something like that?
Is it Gravedigger or Grave Robber? I can't remember what he called. Like Grave something. Yeah.
And of course he's the head of a funeral procession, and he's like, hey, you know, we'll hold him up. You just go up that road, we'll hold him up for a while. And of course Buford comes up to the turning, and they got no choice but to wait there while this funeral. Yeah. And his son is like, you know, who is just the biggest moron in this movie.
Yeah.
He's just like, there's a lot of cars.
Yeah, he knew a lot of people.
But of course they're stood there, and then they have to take their hats off out of respect as well, and just wait there while this never-ending procession, never-ending funeral procession goes down the road. Absolutely fantastic. But yeah, so things continue to escalate and escalate and escalate.
And I think at this point they're a bit behind, aren't they? I think
they are running behind, and then we get the police bike, and this is where things really heat up for them.
Yeah.
So yeah, we get the police bike turns up, which is obviously a bigger problem. So the cars they can deal with. The police bike's a little more difficult because obviously it's way more maneuverable and fast. So the bandit's trying to lose this goddamn bike, and manages to, and the guy ends up in a lake.
Yeah. He makes this like little jump, is it again, and he makes it into the other one. Yeah. Basically, just ends up ditching into the water.
Yeah. And they all chase off after the bandit in cars and obviously fail. But at this point, Buford catches up with them, and this is where he leaves his car door open while this sheriff is telling him off. He's like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, you can't drive a car like this. This is an absolute mistake.
You're not even in your jurisdiction and stuff.
Yeah, and he's like, this is evidence. And then, of course, the truck purposely drives past and takes off the door.
I think that's two separate bits. I think that's before before that bit, but either way, it doesn't really matter.
No.
Yeah, I do like the fact that he says to pick up the door. He's pick up the door because for evidence.
He holds it in the front at first.
With the door in front of him, he's like, put it in the back, you fucking dummy.
He has to be told to put it in the back because he's just that much of a moron. We've also got a great scene. I'm not quite sure when it happens in the movie. We've also got a great scene where they this prostitute basically contacts the bandit and is like, hey, if you want some fun, come meet me here. And he's like, oh yeah, I'll come meet you there. And it's obviously some elaborate ploy.
Yeah.
Where Buford turns up to arrest the bandit, and he thinks he's arrested him. He gets him, and he's like, I've caught the bandit.
Yeah, it's a sort of cat house lorry sort of thing, isn't it?
Yeah, just at the side of a road somewhere.
The guy, he arrests the. I think this is a lot earlier, isn't it?
It is. Like I said, there's so much of this movie is just chase.
Like, you're going to regret arresting me. Yeah. Doesn't he turn out to be like the sheriff of another town?
He's the sheriff, or the captain, isn't he? The captain.
Yeah.
He's like, that's my captain. He turns up and he's like, what are you doing here? And he's like, well, I've just arrested the bandit. And he's like, the bandit? That's my captain. And doesn't he say, like, hey, if you're going to do this kind of thing, you might want to let people know that you're doing it so they don't arrest you? So it's basically like, it's fine to do it. Or wear your badge. That's right. He's like, you should at least wear your badge. Where it's like, obviously, where he is in Texas, he can get away with whatever he wants. Yeah. He's like, hey, get away with it. Just make sure you wear your badge. That's all you need to do. So now, obviously, where we were in the... Obviously, where we were in the movie, the car now has no door, no roof, basically nothing left. The whole thing is just falling apart. But he's continuing the fight, and he's continuing to drive it. But of course, things ramp up substantially as they're nearing the end. They're kind of getting close to the end, and the chase is continuing. They're doing okay. The bandit is ahead of them, but then of course the helicopter turns up.
Yeah,
and this is where they've got real problems, because how do you begin to lose a helicopter? And they do what they can. I mean, obviously, he's just driving as best he can, but you get this moment where he's like, I don't think we're gonna make this, and he gets on the radio to Snowman. He's like, hey, we had a good run, but. Yeah.
I think we might have missed another.
Do we probably miss loads because this movie is mostly repeating the same thing over and over again?
There's another bit with truckers, the convoy.
Oh yes, the convoy.
The convoy offers to hide him amongst them, so that.
It's a really well shot scene, this as well, because they do the way they shoot it with the police car. So the police car's coming up on, like, if it's like on the hard left, and then you got the trucks in between, and the bandits on the far right, and they just basically cover the whole time at this. They match the speed of the police car.
Yeah. But the thing is that Hal Needham, the director, this was his first directing job, but he was Reynolds' stunt double.
Yeah.
So he was a stuntman first before he was anything else. He's a stuntman, an actor. And
I mean, the stunts in this are fantastic. So you can totally see
they're brilliant. And the stunts in almost all of this period of Reynolds movies, they're all bloody great because they knew what they were doing. They knew their stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, if I remember rightly, is it the last Tarantino movie, the Hollywood one? With,
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, something like that.
If I remember rightly, the relationship between Pitt and DiCaprio's character is roughly based on Reynolds and Needham's characters.
Oh right, I didn't know that.
Yeah, because apparently Needham lived in like Reynolds' guest house for like 12 years.
Oh, okay.
So they were like big pals, and like I said, he was his stunt double.
Yeah, I didn't know that. But yeah, so yeah, the kind of things have escalated to the point that there's now a helicopter on them, and
Yep.
the bandit is considering giving up. He's like, hey, we gave it a go, we gave it a shot, and he says to Kerry, we're not going to make it. And of course he gets on the CB to Snowman, and he's like, hey, we're just not going to make this. But the Snowman is like, no. They know you. They don't know me.
Yeah.
Right. They're after you. All they know about is the bandit. They don't know anything about the Snowman. So let's introduce them to the Snowman. I'm trying to think how they lose the helicopter though. I cannot remember.
I only watched it the other day, and I just cannot.
Yeah, I'm literally pulling a blank. I watched it a couple of days ago myself, and I'm completely pulling a blank on what they do with the helicopter. But in any case, there's like a huge roadblock of police blocking the way, and I think this is basically the border of the states, isn't it?
Yeah,
this is like state border.
I think so.
And they've got, but I guess maybe that's what happens to the helicopter because it goes out of its jurisdiction once they go through the border,
maybe
perhaps. But yes, so of course the bandit's coming around, sees this huge roadblock, pulls to one side, and then of course the Snowman in the truck smashes through the roadblock, and the bandit's he for a moment was worried, but then he smiles and he's like, we're gonna make it.
Yeah,
we're gonna make it. And they continue on, and of course they arrive. I guess there's always a goddamn rodeo going on somewhere.
I guess so.
They just end up at another rodeo, and this one, of all the stunts in the movie, for some reason I cannot explain why, but for some reason, of all the stunts in the movie, this is the one that made me cringe the most. And it's mainly because it's real. And it's a tiny little stunt. It probably was not dangerous at all, but it looks horrendous. Is the scene when the Snowman is speeding into this rodeo, and you got two guys at a gate that are paying no attention, and they have to pretend like they don't know this truck is speeding towards them. And then they hear it at the last minute and run out the way. For some reason, that really got me, and I was like, oh my god, because it's real. You're like, god, if they messed up that timing, they are dead.
They were probably miles away from
They probably were, but that goes back to stunt direction, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Because it looked really effective. So they make it. I think they make it just in time, don't they?
Yeah. Sort of minutes to spare job, I think.
Minutes to spare. Yeah, it's a Escape from New York job.
Yeah.
Countdown is just finishing. And of course they make it, and then they see the two, and they can't believe it because I think a little Burdette just wanted him to fail.
He completely wanted him to fail.
Totally wanted him to fail. Big Burdette is like kind of more impressed than anything, I think.
Yeah, he seems to be slightly more reasonable of the two.
Yeah. And he's like, hey, you know what? I got something else for you. And the bandit's like, nah. The bandit and Snowman are like, no,
absolutely not.
Forget it, absolutely not. Oh no, and quickly he's like, hey, we need, I need out of this car, I need a different car. And he's like, hey, you can take my red Cadillac. Like, fine. Yeah. They all jump in the Cadillac, and he's like, hey, I got another job for you. And he's like, not interested. And he's like, double or nothing. He's like, oh, double or nothing. Okay.
Yeah.
And
he wants clam chowder.
Clam chowder. In 18 hours, but it's got to be from Boston, so they got to go to Boston and back, right?
Yeah.
In 18 hours. And the bandit's like, oh no, yeah, so he's like, I want clam chowder from Boston, and the bandit's like, you're on. And he's like, in 18 hours, he's like, you're double on.
Yeah.
And they jump in the car, and they go to speed off, but then, of course, they pull up as Buford T. Justice is basically in the parking lot.
Yeah. Limping in,
and he has this great conversation, and it's so well framed where you've got Buford in the foreground and the bandit, Snowman, and Kerry in the red Cadillac just in the background, just kind of soft focus on them, and he kind of comes clean. He's like, the bandit's like, hey, I just gotta give you your due. You're one of the best pursuers I have ever had. And Buford's like, well, I guess I have to concede that you were one of the best pursuees that I have ever come across.
And he says, oh, if you want to catch me, I'm just down there in me and my friend are in blue suits.
Yeah, so he goes to dob them in.
Yeah.
But then he kind of goes to drive down there.
Yeah, he goes to drive off, and then just changes his mind.
He's like, "Oh no, I can't do that to you. I've got too much respect for." Does he say like, "I got too much respect for you"?
Yeah,
he can't do that.
Look over your left shoulder.
Yeah, and of course he looks over, and they all wave at him. And doesn't he literally say like, we're going to Boston for clam chowder? He literally tells him what he's going to do as well. That's how confident he is.
Yeah.
But of course, I guess you could argue at this stage the sheriff's car is in such a state it doesn't matter. And of course they speed off, and of course, the sheriff is going to pursue. But he leaves Junior behind, and Junior's running off after him. And basically questions who's going to hold his hat. I mean,
yeah,
that's the problem. And yeah, that was Smokey and the Bandit. I really struggled reviewing this one because it's been a few days since I watched it, and there's so many scenes that are very similar, and I'm not sure what order they all happen in.
I mean, it's just one big chase movie.
It's one big chase movie, and it's so much fun. I had so much fun rewatching this movie.
Yeah.
Mainly, I don't know whether that's biased because of my childhood, because I remember watching it a lot as a kid, but it brought back so many.
I think it mostly holds up. There's some.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Some nice chases. There's some pretty good stunts in it.
The thing is, practical chases like that are always going to stand up.
Yeah, and other than some slightly iffy sentiment in one or two places.
Sure, iffy sentiment and some slightly iffier, off-timed background. Plates that they've got going, when they're in the car, you've got those kind of that background footage playing. It's kind of off time to what they're actually doing, but that's a common thing with older films like that anyway. It's kind of you barely notice it. But a wonderful film, some great stunts, and really it all comes down to the charisma,
just how good they are. Yeah. And I mean, and even Jerry Reed, who's a country singer, and of course sung the Eastbound and Down and the Bandit.
We were talking off air about how this movie basically
stuck in my head for the last week.
Well, yeah, we were talking off air about how this movie basically has just songs that describe what happens in the movie.
Yeah,
it's great because they're all written for the movie, right? And they all just
He wrote the Eastbound and Down apparently, and he gave it to the director, and the director didn't comment at first.
Yeah,
and he said, "I can rewrite it if you want," and he went, "Don't fucking change anything, or I'll kill you." Sort of thing. And yeah, it's a brilliant soundtrack. And apparently, originally when he wrote the script, he wanted Jerry Reed to play Bandit, but he'd given the script to Reynolds, and Reynolds said, "If you do this, I'll do it. I'll do it. I'll be Bandit." So he changed it so that Reed ended up being Snowman, which I think is probably a good thing. Yeah. I think Reed gets his chance to play Bandit in the third one, but let's not go there.
No, I mean the second one is it feels like more of a sequel. Where you still get Big Burdette is in it. That's the political one, actually, isn't it? Now that I think about it.
That's the one with the political rally. Yes, because it's to do with the elephant, isn't it?
That's right. Yeah.
And again, the weirdest thing, for some reason, Kerry is going to be marrying Junior again.
Yeah, that's really weird.
That happened? How?
Yeah.
Because she's basically left Bandit. Bandit's now drinking.
Yeah, I don't really buy that the Bandit would become so heartbroken that he'd end up being a heavy drinker because she left him either. That was kind of a bit questionable.
Well, I mean, in real life, apparently, Burt Reynolds did say that Sally Fields was the love of his life.
Oh, no, sure, but I never got that impression from the Bandit.
No, I don't think so, not really. I don't buy it from Bandit.
No. But I guess, if it's a couple of years later or something, maybe.
Yeah. But I think the second one is okay. The second one is
I really don't remember the third one much at all, actually.
Oh, so the third one is not got. It wasn't directed by Needham. Reynolds only briefly appears in it. Sally Fields isn't in it. So Jerry Reed basically takes over the role of Bandit. So he's pretending to be Bandit, and the brother, sorry, not the brothers, the father and son hire Buford T. Justice to take a fish across country.
Right.
So he's retired. I think he retires at the beginning, and then they like offer him this job, and he says, "No, I'm retiring. I'm going to be fine." He realizes that retiring is shit, so he takes the job.
Right.
And then, because he's apparently doing well, they think, "Oh shit! If he does this, he's going to end up with we're going to have to pay him." So they go to Snowman and say, "Can you be Bandit?" sort of thing. So he becomes Bandit for this film, and I can't remember how many. I think Reynolds appears at like 5 minutes, if that.
Right.
And it's really bad. I think it's got lots of like stop scenes from the first and second movie.
I am reading the synopsis, and I don't think I've ever seen this film.
You're not missing anything.
No, it doesn't sound like it.
I mean, I didn't realize that there are like 4 other TV movies that they made in the 90s.
Doesn't surprise me.
But it's the guy who's the voice of Blazkowicz in the later
Wolfenstein.
Wolfenstein, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so I've never seen those.
No.
So I can't really comment on whether they're any good or not, but there are 4 of them, I think.
Wow. Well, I do remember enjoying Smokey and the Bandit 2. It's been a long time since I've watched it.
Yeah.
I remember enjoying it. Not as much as the first, but
No.
I do remember
the first is great. The second one's okay.
Yeah.
I think like I said, this was the period where, Reynolds was completely on top, so he'd done Hooper and I think it's White Lightning and stuff like that. And those movies are all, I think they mostly hang up. They're all pretty good. Hooper I really like. That's the one where he's actually playing a stuntman.
Yes, I remember.
And that's got some really good stunts in it as well. There's really good jumps in that.
You're absolutely right. When Reynolds was on top, he really was untouchable for a couple of years there. He was,
I think I would say almost a 10-year period.
Yeah.
Sort of, mid 70s to mid 80s. I think. I think after that, he got. I think it was what was the film he did with Eastwood? Is it City Heat?
Something like that.
Yeah, he got hit in the face with a steel chair.
Jesus.
It was supposed to be a collapsible chair, and it wasn't. It was the wrong chair, and it fucked his jaw up.
Oh wow! I didn't know.
Yeah, it fucked his jaw up, and so he was on a liquid diet, and he lost all this weight, and I think there was rumours going around that he had AIDS.
Oh, okay.
And it ruined him for a long time. He couldn't. He was in constant pain. I think he also had back problems from other stunts that had gone wrong. So he was in a real bad shape. When I saw him in an interview not long before he died, the dude could barely move. He was in a real bad way because I think he just put his body through so much.
Yeah. Well, that's the trouble. A lot of these actors used to do their own stunts and do their own stuff, and it's a different breed.
Yeah. So I mean, So the period after this, he was down on his luck for a bit. I think he declared bankruptcy and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, he was a bloody great actor, and I'm so glad he got like a second win after sort of Boogie Nights and was it Striptease?
But the thing is, he was still like massively handsome, charismatic dude for most of his life. I mean, even in later life, he was still like a gorgeous looking guy.
Yeah.
So it totally works. And yeah, he was great. I mean, like you said, for that period, certainly he was incredible.
Yeah.
When he was on top, he was absolutely on top.
Yeah, I mean this was it 77. This was the second highest grossing movie that year after Star Wars.
Yeah. So there you are.
And again, there was interestingly, when it was initially released, it didn't do terribly well in the North. It was released in the South. The South absolutely, completely embraced it, and it did so well in the South. And eventually, people were started taking notice of it, and when it was released again in the North, and completely, like I said, almost everybody went to see it. Like I said, it was with the second gross and everything, absolutely, was a complete hit. So that I think, and that coupled with the fact that I think, that's the point where you could probably have done anything at that point. And
Yeah. I'm really curious if I can find out how many cars they got through.
They were given 4 Trans Ams, I think it was.
That is shockingly low.
Yeah, well, I think initially Trans Am said they were going to give more, but I think they only ended up giving 4.
Right.
And I think by the end of the movie, they were so fucked.
I'm not surprised.
I think in one of the scenes, I'm not quite sure, it's one of the later scenes, I think, the car is being, like, pushed in. It's not being driven.
Really?
It's so fucked, yeah. And I think they had, I can't remember how many had of the cop cars. They had so many of the cop cars as well. But by the second one, because this completely changed, the fortunes of the Trans Am. Everybody in a fucking Trans Am after this movie. So that it was,
I bet they got a few more for the sequel
as well. Was another one that had a boom in that period.
I imagine between this and Convoy with the CBs, probably was a massive boom.
So when they got to the second movie, Trans Am gave them 10 cars.
Jesus! So the budget was 4,300,000.
Yeah,
estimated. The worldwide gross was 126 million.
Yes.
Almost 127 million. That's insane.
And part of that they initially the studio gave them 5 million.
Right.
And then like a week before they were going to go in production, some hatchet man turned up and said, "Oh no, we're going to shave off like $1 million from that." So they took away $1 million. There was $1 million going on Reynolds himself.
Yeah.
So
money well spent.
Yeah. In the end, it was like $3.5 million to do the whole movie.
Crazy, isn't it? You look at the actual money they made. That's insane. It's no wonder there was TV movies and God knows what in the decline.
Yeah, and I think there was 2020. I think there was rumored that they were going to be doing a reboot, which is like, okay, fine, but
yeah, I think. Can you even make that today though?
I mean, you could do a decent chase movie. I'm not sure.
Yeah, but like, Smokey and the Bandit, unless you said it during that period, and then at that point you might have just watched the original.
That would be, but I think that would probably work better.
Because like nowadays, would they really be able to get? I mean, how would you get away with it? I mean, I guess maybe people do, but I just think with like modern technology, it's like once that helicopter's up in the air, you're done.
They'd have to update the car.
Yeah, which would suck.
Yeah.
What would you even drive? What car would you use?
Bugatti or something.
Yeah, maybe. But then that would be useless off road, and at least you've got that.
Really
At least with the Trans Am, it's got a bit of suspension there, and you can kind of go a bit off road and do those scenes. I'd imagine a Bugatti would just get wrecked if it went off road for any period of time.
Right.
Yeah. But yes, a great movie. Sorry I couldn't remember it that well. It's only been a couple of days, but it is very difficult because there's so many scenes and they're all just chase scenes. It's like trying to remember the order of things. They could all happen in any order, really.
Yeah.
What I should have done is pay closer attention to the car falling apart, and then I probably would have been able to pinpoint things. But anyway, an amazing movie, and honestly, cannot recommend it enough. I had an absolute blast rewatching Smokey and the Bandit. So
it definitely holds up.
Highly recommended. It's
still fun.
Absolutely. Highly recommended. Great fun. Watch it. just watch it. We'll be back next week with our usual review fare. I am taking my dad to the cinema this weekend to watch Top Gun.
Yep.
So I'm not sure if we're going to do an episode between now and then. So either this episode, the next episode, or the episode after will be a Top Gun review.
Right.
Depends when we record, I guess.
Yeah.
But until then, stay safe, take care, and we'll catch you next time.